Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and we have an ever growing amount of information, I would also say disinformation, coming out about Jeffrey Epstein. Now, we know it's no secret, none, that Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein had a relationship. And it's no secret that Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton have lied about that relationship. It's hilarious when Trevor Noah makes a "you killed Epstein" joke to not only Hillary Clinton, but with Chelsea by her side, yet he doesn't mention that Ghislaine Maxwell is still on the run. And she did attend your wedding, right, Chelsea? And you did go on vacation with her, right, Chelsea? And now the headline, which is interesting, it just points to more lies, as we know that Epstein was giving the Clintons money back in the 90s, and that the relationship seems to be established then. And his lawyers say he was the one that came up with the Clinton Initiative, all those things. No big deal, right? We have this guy named Jared Kellogg, and basically he was doing IT for the Zorro Ranch. And we could talk about Zorro Ranch in New Mexico for some time. Still has not been raided. It is an extensive property that goes well beyond just the main property, right? This is also where he wanted his eugenics experiments, where he was going to impregnate, I believe it was up to 24 women at a time. And, you can't make this stuff up. Now, here's what's interesting to me. Number one, Hillary stayed at this Zorro Ranch. Okay, that's an interesting point to make because Bill and Hillary don't always travel together. They didn't stay in the main house, according to Kellogg, and he was getting all of his information from Bryce Gordon, who was the long-standing ranch manager there. Okay, and Bryce Gordon was constantly bragging to him about how the Clintons stayed here. And here's the thing. When we talk about Hillary Clinton, she largely gets a pass in this, right? It's jokes. It's hilarious. Ha ha, funny, funny. Comedy Central, Trevor Noah. But as much as I don't like Eric Prince, I don't think that he was playing the disinformation game when he went on Breitbart Radio and said that he had information that Hillary Clinton had visited the island up to 6 times. Now remember, Bill Clinton is still denying that he ever visited the island, despite the quote-unquote humanitarian trips and the plane trips, and now the confirmation at Zorro Ranch, and the fact that Chelsea, again, had Ghislaine Maxwell at her wedding and went on vacation with her. All of this is just more and more confirmation. Don't get me wrong. It gets a headline. It's interesting. But what's more interesting is what Kellogg was doing there. And by the way, Kellogg gives a bunch of pictures of these side ranches. He was at the Cowboy Ranch, I believe, is where the Clintons were staying. Is that he was there to set up some kind of a wireless camera feed. Now, presumably, seeing as the rancher Bryce Gordon was, because it doesn't seem to give a time frame in this article, Bryce Gordon was bringing Jared Kellogg in as the security expert. First of all, Kellogg said he was not allowed free reign of the property, which is extremely odd, right? He said, not allowed free reign of the property. There were certain places that I was cordoned off from as a security expert. That's a no-no, right? But I kind of had to go along to get along. Secondly, they didn't want to hardwire anything. They wanted to do wireless. Now, as a tech guy myself, I could see the need for wanting to do wireless, especially since what he seemed to be setting up was not secret cameras like the pinhole cameras we saw or heard about, rather, in New York that were in the bathrooms and the bedrooms. And we seem to have a duplication of that, right, over in Florida. So I would presume there would be a duplication of that to this. Now, he said that they also wanted to do it on the cheap and that they didn't want to run wire. Okay? Now, the article really, it stretches it a bit. It talks about the relation with Clinton. It talks about the blue dress and supposedly Hillary's blue dress here And, some have speculated also the Monica Lewinsky thing, myself included, but it does appear to be that dress. If they have such a close relationship, how bizarre is it that Clinton has a mural painted like that? And by the way, there's an extra finger in there. See that? Right there? There's an extra finger right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And make of that what you will, but this artist has done that before. I believe they did it with Barack Obama as well, and I'm not sure if they did it with George Bush, but interesting thing, large mural in his New York home. Obviously, they're going through the flight logs there. But here's a look inside the ranch, inside certain aspects of the home and the property. Now, the property's huge, okay? And if I don't want to hype this up too much because who knows if it'll fall through or not. But as you guys know, Courtney Love was in the Black Book, and Hank Harrison is her father. Now, Harrison's somewhat of a controversial figure, but he made some posts saying that, basically in short, Courtney Love had procured girls for Epstein. And by the way, one of the secret rooms that we were talking about that they didn't have access to was supposedly a strip club. Like a strip club in the bottom. Very, very possible. By the way, Nick Waits, thank you. Reptilians have 6 fingers. Or not reptilians, I'm sorry, Nephilim. I guess that would be kind of one of the same, right? Or are the Nephilim just the fallen angels and not really the reptile people? I don't know. There's a lot of convolution when you get into biblical and Anunnaki and that sort of thing, right? Anyway, back to this. So Hank Harrison makes these statements. Now, I contacted Hank all the way back in October and did not hear back from him. He contacted me back yesterday. I tried my best to try to set up a day. It looks like it's going to happen, but I don't know for sure. But it would be interesting for his insight. He says that basically his daughter told him that she was procuring girls for Epstein, and also says that a lot of these girls are lucky because some of them, ended up buried in a desert or, tossed overboard in the ocean. And I don't know what to say to that. I'm not going to make large accusations, but when you're dealing with people of this level of power, and we already know so much has been covered up. And again, with that story we did on the hacker hoax, the idea that the New York Times and other media outlets or powerful lawyers like David Boies could not identify the source who was giving them all that information and supposedly the black and white pictures of people like Ehud Barak and Alan Dershowitz having sex with these women, it's extremely suspect to me. I don't know that these files were ever digitized. I think you're more likely that the stuff was edited down into hard copies of this. Call me kooky. Violet Lotus, thank you for the $11 super chat. It is much, much appreciated. In one other side Epstein note story, I want to point out that, out of some of the other ludicrous things that he's said, and I'm talking about Prince Andrew, other than the fact that he couldn't sweat, right? That he didn't take women to the very places he's pictured taking women, that he can't remember Virginia Roberts, and he should have remembered because, it's a pretty positive thing in our society when guys, hammer down on the ladies, if you know what I mean, and you usually remember those things. But he has no recollection. He wants to spin stories of photoshopping, okay, all that good stuff. Well, he also tried to say that he may have been set up for these pictures. And essentially, the Daily Mail did this, long story saying, he wasn't set up. Give us a break. That's not what happened. But I don't know that not to be true. Again, that's the tabloid stuff that gets you lost, in my opinion. But the tabloids, at the same time, are the ones doing these types of exclusive pieces and keeping the story alive. And people like myself are going to continue to keep the story alive. Remember, there's new court proceedings going on, new motions, and hopefully on the 5th we're going to find out if we're going to get that 10,000-page data dump. And remember, Bradley Edwards has said 1,000 names. 1,000. So we have just the pitter-patter of almost no names right now. Remember, people like Bill Clinton still haven't been named as a quote-unquote pedophile. Even some of the names now that are not being challenged by anybody in the mainstream media through that 2,000-page dump, such as Bill Richardson, who was the governor of New Mexico, who visited Zorro Ranch, which is the ranch that we were talking about, which still hasn't been investigated, which is ridiculous. So guys, if you like this video, now's the time to thumb it up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the Burmish Brigade. Now's the time to join us. We do it 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 times a day. I got to get back into that 7 video mode, guys. We're definitely going to do a couple more tonight. That is a promise. You can follow me on Twitter. Oh, we got some new terms of service, apparently. Got to love that. Oh, we got to get that off is what we got to do. But I'm also a documentary filmmaker, and all my films are free right here. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture, all available for free in the playlist section. And if you want to financially support me, it's Christmas time. Let's grow this operation. Like I said, by month 12, I want an office. I want to be able to have guests in studio. I want interns. I want to be cranking out more material. I don't want to be kicked off the platform. YouTube, I got nothing but love in my heart. I'm trying to just tell the truth from a real perspective, not a puppet perspective, not a false left-right perspective, a right and wrong perspective. Guys, I love you. Thumb it up, sub, and share. I will see you all on the flip side.